I was 12 years old when Mrs. Franz told me nobody needed my tears. It was 7th grade math, pre-algebra. I was already bad at it. Numbers didn't make sense to me the way words did. They just sat there on the page, stubborn and mean, refusing to connect to anything real. Mrs. Franz had a method. She'd call a student to the board, hand them the chalk, and read a problem from the textbook. If you got it wrong, she didn't explain why. She just stood there with her arms crossed and said things like, "I see we've done the reading," in a voice that meant the opposite. Or, "Maybe you should try paying attention." Or, if you really couldn't solve it, she'd ask the class, "Does anyone want to help Sarah, or is she on her own?" Nobody ever helped. They were too scared of becoming the next person at the board. The crying thing happened in the spring. My favorite teacher, Mr. Alston, was leaving. He taught English. He was the only adult in that building who seemed to like me. On his last day, I couldn't hold it together. I was crying at my desk before the bell even rang for first period. Mrs. Franz saw me. She stopped at my desk and looked down. "Stop crying," she said. "Nobody needs your tears." Then she walked to the front of the room and started calling names for the board. I'm 27 now. I teach English online to adults in other countries. I fix people's Wi-Fi and recover their lost passwords for extra money. I live in a small apartment in Baltimore, and I take the 64 bus on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mrs. Franz is 58. She still teaches at the same middle school. I know because I checked the staff directory on the school website. Her photo is still there. Same short gray hair, same thin lips, same expression like she's smelling something unpleasant. She's probably counting down the years until retirement, full pension, 30-plus years of service, a nice quiet end to a career spent making children feel small. I don't think she should get to retire peacefully. I think she should lose everything. I started the way I always start, with research. The Maryland State Retirement and Pension System has a website. It's public. Anyone can read the handbooks and the plan descriptions. I learned that a teacher's pension can be forfeited if they're convicted of a felony related to their job. Not just any felony. It has to be a qualifying crime that involves theft, bribery, or abuse of public trust. The state has to prove it in court. Then the pension board reviews the case. Then they vote to take it away. It's a long process. It requires evidence, real evidence that holds up in front of a judge. I also learned something else. Baltimore City Public Schools has an Office of Internal Audit. Their job is to investigate fraud, waste, and abuse. They have a hotline. Anyone can submit a tip. Anonymous tips are accepted. I read their annual reports. In the last 5 years, they've investigated 14 cases of employee theft. Most of them involved small amounts. A coach stealing gate receipts. A secretary using a school credit card for personal groceries. A teacher submitting fake reimbursement forms for classroom supplies. The teacher who did that last one lost her job. She was convicted of felony theft. Her pension was forfeited. She was 61 years old. I read that case 3 times. It was a blueprint. Mrs. Franz teaches math. She doesn't handle money directly. She's not a department chair or an administrator. She doesn't have access to school funds or credit cards. That's a problem. You can't frame someone for theft if they don't have access to anything worth stealing. But every teacher submits reimbursement requests. Field trip fees, classroom supplies, professional development workshops. The forms go through the school secretary and then to the district finance office. The money gets deposited directly into the teacher's bank account. I needed access to that process, not to steal anything, just to understand how it worked, and to find a way in. Samuel helped with this part. We met at his apartment in Hampton. I brought coffee. He brought his laptop and a whiteboard. The school district runs on a system called Oracle Financials, he said. It's old, it's clunky, but it's not the weak point. The weak point is the people using it. He was right. The weak point is always the people. I found the school secretary on Facebook. Her name was Gladys. She was in her 60s. She posted photos of her grandchildren and her garden. She also posted about her job. Another day of processing purchase orders. If I never see another reimbursement form, it'll be too soon. That kind of thing. Gladys had a work email address. It was on the school website. Standard format for the district. I didn't hack Gladys. I sent her an email. The email looked like it came from the district IT department. Same logo, same formatting, same footer with the help desk number. I built a replica of the district's internal communications template. It took me about 4 hours. The subject line said, "Action required, password reset for financial system access." The body explained that the district was upgrading its security protocols, and all staff with access to Oracle financials needed to verify their credentials through a secure portal. There was a link. It went to a page that looked exactly like the district's single sign-on page. I'd built that too. Gladys clicked the link. She entered her username and password. She probably didn't think twice about it. She processed dozens of forms a day. She just wanted to get back to her work. I had her log in by the end of the week. I didn't do anything right away. I just watched. For 2 months, I logged into Gladys's account once a week and looked around. I saw how the reimbursement system worked. I saw the forms teachers submitted. I saw the approval chain. I saw the deposit schedules. Mrs. Franz submitted very few reimbursements. Maybe 2 a year. Small amounts. $20 for dry erase markers. $35 for a workbook. Nothing unusual. That was fine. I didn't need her to have a history of fraud. I needed to create one. I waited until November. That's when teachers typically submit requests for first semester supply reimbursements. I logged into Gladys's account and found a blank reimbursement form. I filled it out as if I were Mrs. Franz. Amount: $847.50. Reason: classroom technology upgrade, graphing calculators and accessories. I attached a fake receipt I'd created using a template from a school supply website. I made sure the vendor was a real company that the district used. I made sure the dates aligned with the school calendar. Then I changed the direct deposit information, not to my account, to a new account I'd opened online in Mrs. Franz's name. I had her social security number from a data breach archive. I had her address from public records. I had her date of birth from a genealogy website. Opening a bank account in someone else's name is identity theft. It's a felony. But so is what Mrs. Franz was about to be accused of. I submitted the form. It went through Gladys's normal approval workflow. She probably clicked approve without looking too closely. She processed hundreds of these. The money hit the fake account 3 weeks later. I waited a month. Then I submitted another one, $612.25 for professional development materials. Another month, $423.80 and for student incentive gift cards. Over 6 months, I moved just under $4,000 through an account that had Mrs. Franz's name on it. Every transaction looked like it came from her. Every form used her employee ID and her digital signature. Every deposit went to an account she didn't know existed. The paper trail was perfect. I sent the anonymous tip in May. I didn't use email. Email can be traced, even with a VPN, if you make a mistake. I typed the letter on a public library computer. I printed it on plain paper. I mailed it from a blue box in Federal Hill. The letter was simple. It listed the dates and amounts of the suspicious reimbursements. It noted that Mrs. Franz taught math and had no legitimate reason to order graphing calculators for a middle school pre-algebra class. It suggested that the auditor compare the reimbursement requests to Mrs. Franz's actual classroom inventory. I included screenshots of the transaction logs from the financial system. I'd exported them from Gladys's account before I stopped logging in. Then I waited. The investigation took 4 months. I know because I checked the school board meeting minutes. In September, there was a brief mention in the personnel report. One employee placed on administrative leave pending outcome of internal audit investigation. No name. But I knew. In October, the Baltimore Sun ran a small story in the local section. City schools employee charged in theft scheme. Mrs. Franz was named. The article said she'd been charged with felony theft and misconduct in office. It said the district's internal audit had identified irregular reimbursement requests totaling more than $3,800. It said she'd been released on her own recognizance pending trial. I read the article at my kitchen table. I didn't feel giddy. I didn't feel guilty. I felt like a weight I'd been carrying since 7th grade had shifted slightly. Just enough to let me breathe. The trial was brief. Mrs. Franz pled not guilty. Her lawyer argued that someone must have stolen her identity, that she'd never seen the bank account, that she'd never submitted those forms. The prosecutor showed the jury the digital evidence, the forms submitted from Mrs. Franz's school computer, using her login credentials, during school hours. The bank account opened with her social security number and home address. The IP logs that placed the activity at the school building. I hadn't done any of it from the school building. I'd spoofed the IP address. It's not hard if you know how. The school's IT department wasn't sophisticated enough to catch it. They saw what they expected to see. A teacher stealing money. The jury convicted her in 2 days. The pension forfeiture hearing was in January. I didn't attend. I read about it in the Sun. The Maryland State Retirement and Pension System filed a motion to forfeit Mrs. Franz's benefits under the qualifying crime provision. Her lawyer argued that the theft was minor and unrelated to her core teaching duties. The board disagreed. They voted unanimously to revoke her pension. 31 years of teaching, a full career, and she walked away with nothing. Mrs. Franz is 60 now. She lives in a small apartment in Dundalk, according to public records. She works part-time as a tutor at a strip mall learning center. I found the listing on their website. Her bio says she has over 30 years of classroom experience. It doesn't mention the conviction. I thought about calling the learning center, telling them who they'd hired, but I didn't. She's already lost everything that mattered: the pension, the reputation, the ability to look at herself as a respectable person. Taking away a part-time tutoring job felt like overkill. Besides, I like knowing she's still out there, still working, still struggling. Every month she has to figure out how to pay her rent without the retirement she planned for. Every day she has to face people who might Google her name and find the articles. She doesn't know it was me. She'll never know. She probably thinks it was a jealous colleague or a random identity thief or just bad luck. She doesn't remember the girl who cried in 7th grade. She doesn't remember telling that girl that nobody needed her tears. But I remember. Samuel asked me once if I felt bad about it. We were eating pizza at his place. He'd helped me with the IP spoofing and the bank account setup. He knew what I'd done. He didn't judge. He just wanted to know how I felt. I don't feel bad, I said. She spent 30 years making kids feel stupid and small. She told me nobody needed my tears. She deserved to lose everything. She didn't actually steal the money, he said. No, but she would have, if she'd known how. She was the kind of person who takes from people who can't fight back. I just made sure she got caught for something. Samuel nodded. He didn't push. I still tutor English online. I still fix people's Wi-Fi. I still take the 64 bus on Tuesdays and Thursdays. My life looks exactly the same as it did before. But something is different. When I think about 7th grade now, I don't feel the same tightness in my chest. I don't hear her voice saying those words. I just see an old woman in a small apartment checking her bank balance, wondering how she's going to make it through the month. She's the one crying now, and nobody needs her tears.